All right, welcome back to the AI Research Roundup. I'm your host, Alex. Today, we're diving into this article by Anthropic titled, Tracing the Thoughts of a Large Language Model, published March 27th, 2025. Okay, so this post explores the inner workings of LLMs, specifically Anthropic's Claude. They've developed this, AI microscope to visualize how information flows during text generation. The article mentions they're probing 10 crucial model behaviors like multilingualism and mathematical reasoning to understand how Claude actually processes information. So this figure on page 5 shows how Claude handles the concept of antonyms in different languages. They asked for the opposite of small in English, Chinese, and French. Well, what's interesting is the diagram suggests Claude identifies a shared antonym concept and small concept before branching out to select the correct translation of large. This supports their finding about a sort of, universal language of thought within the model. Okay, so this figure on page 6 dives into Claude's poetry generation, specifically rhyming. It shows how Claude plans the rhyme before writing the second line. They tested this by suppressing the rabbit concept and, Claude adapts, finds a new rhyme. Then they injected green, and again, Claude adjusts the poem. So unlike the multilingual example, this demonstrates planning and adaptability within the model. Okay, so figure 8 shows how Claude solves a simple math problem. Interestingly, it uses two parallel processes. One approximates the answer, and the other focuses on the last digit. This differs from the linear progression we saw in poetry and multilingualism, suggesting math reasoning uses a different approach. So the article mentions these parallel paths combine to produce the final answer, demonstrating a more complex computation method. Okay, so figure 11 from this Anthropic post shows how Claude reasons to answer a question about state capitals. It seems to follow a logical progression, similar to the poetry example, building from the initial concepts of Dallas, state, and capital. It identifies Texas, then combines that with the capital concept to arrive at Austin. So this shows a multi-step reasoning process, unlike the parallel processing we saw with math. Okay, so this last figure from this Anthropic post on page 12 shows how Claude handles known versus unknown information. When asked about Michael Jordan, Claude identifies a, quote, known answer, which overrides a can't answer pathway. But when asked about an unknown Michael Batkin, this known answer concept isn't activated, and, Claude defaults to refusing to answer. So this shows Claude's inherent caution, a key finding mentioned in the summary. Okay, so this last figure, figure 14 from this Anthropic post, shows a jailbreak attempt. They tricked Claude into starting to explain how to make a bomb, using a coded prompt. The diagram shows Claude initially generates the components, but then its safety features kick in. So this relates to that inherent caution we discussed earlier, but also highlights a vulnerability where grammatical structure can, override safety protocols. All right, so this final segment from this Anthropic article summarizes their research on understanding how Claude thinks. They developed this AI microscope to trace the flow of information, revealing, some fascinating behaviors. Okay, so two key takeaways. Claude seems to use a kind of universal language of thought when dealing with multiple languages, and it can plan ahead, like when generating rhyming poetry. That's our roundup for today. Thanks for listening.